I'm BlaqueWitchYaya. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and this is the final part of the pastor and the warlock you guys have all been waiting for. Make sure you tune into part 1 and part 2 listed below. I have a playlist for it because we are going to pick up right where we left off. While I tell you what happened in part 3, I am making my crystal dry rub as we chit chat and talk about it. This is a dry mixture of herbs that you can use to cleanse your crystals or to charge any one of your items that you would like to charge to your energy. This is perfect. Instead of, if you don't want to use liquid or smoke, you can just use a crystal dry rub to charge your crystals, or like I said, any items that you like. And you can get this from BlaqueWitchYaya.com. My little spiritual dime bags out here we pushing. But matter of fact, let me rewind just a little bit, because I don't want you guys to think that Pastor Brown just up and invited Jeffrey without any warning to his members. So one Sunday morning, the Sunday before the big Sunday, Pastor Brown tells Jeffrey, hey, I know you're not into church, but if you could just tune in to the Facebook Live of this Sunday's service, at least for the first 15 minutes, I think you'll like it. And Jeffrey's like, okay, send me the link. He tells his daughter Cassie, because Cassie has not been coming to the church. Like I told y'all in part 1, Cassie is spiritual. She is off being a fairy, okay? And she's just living her best life. And her dad isn't judging her because he knows the spiritual side and how beneficial and helpful it has been to him. So he knows for his daughter, it will be the same. So he tells his daughter, hey Cassie, I know I never pressure you to come to the church, but if you could just make it to this Sunday's and possibly next Sunday's service, I think this is the type of service I think you've been looking for. Cassie's like, Daddy, no, I'm just not into that church life. I thought you said you weren't going to try to invite me. I thought we had an understanding. And Pastor Brown's like, listen, trust me, this service you don't want to miss. I think I'm going to shock myself with this service. Cassie's like, okay, I'll be there. I'm not wearing a dress, but I'll be there. So this Sunday, as soon as they get done with the singing and the prayer, Pastor Brown walks to the pulpit, grabs the mic, and says, what do you guys think about witches and warlocks? The mother of the church says that they should burn in hell. Pastor Brown asks, why? Another member says, because they worship the devil. How do you know? Pastor Brown asks. So people are thinking he's about to get into this deep service and this deep preaching about how you should stay away from people like this. So people are intrigued. So they're just stating their opinion. They worship the devil because what they do is not of God and is not of the word. Pastor Brown says, and what makes you say that? And the little girl says, because they're evil. Pastor Brown says, and why do you guys think that they're evil? What evil stuff do they do? What evil stuff have you seen? And then the drummer says, well, Pastor Brown, anything that isn't of God is evil. Pastor Brown says, and what makes you think that what they do isn't of God? The church mother again says, because they think that they are God. And Pastor Brown says, thank you. This is why I ask these questions. All of our opinions are based on what we are taught, not what we've seen, not what we experienced. Just what we're taught. And me being in this position, I would be a hypocrite if I told you guys just to think one group of people is evil because it's different from you. What if you were treated differently or demonized because you're different from someone else? Just for being different. We all have different political views in here, right? We all have different cleaning techniques. We all have different parenting techniques. We're all different. But yet that doesn't make you better than the next person because you're different. Right? Amen, amen, amen. Everybody says. So, since we're all Christians in here, right? I hope we're all Christians, right? We are different from spiritual people. Does that make us better? Yes, someone says. I'm like, what the? Yes, they said. Pastor Brown says, no, we're just different. We don't know what they do is of God. We don't know what they do is of the devil. They have the option to do both. But someone wise told me that if you're a good person, everything you do will be built on the foundation of good. So good will always be present because good is within you. And just the opposite with evil or bad. If you're a bad person, everything you do will be built on the foundation of bad because bad is within you, so bad will be present. Right? This Bible shouldn't make you a good person. This Bible is just instructions, guidance, experiences of other people that you take with you along your journey. You should naturally be a good person in and out the church, correct? You're a good person whether you're Christian or not, correct? Christianity shouldn't make you a good person. Why is it forcing you to be something that you're not? You're naturally good, right? So Pastor Brown is going in, and I'm like, you better have on your big boy boxers. So he's just questioning the church and really making them reflect, like, you're not a good person because you're a Christian. You're a Christian and you're a good person. It happens simultaneously. One is not because of the other. It's not a ripple effect. It's two independent factors that are joined together that makes you you, right? So they're just like, yeah. So how do you know when you see someone in a store and they have a crystal around their neck? What makes that evil? If that person is good, everything they do is good because good is within them, right? You think this stuff is evil just because someone told you. If I told you the sky is purple, would you believe me? No, the member says. But I told you it's purple, so you should believe me because I'm your pastor, right? No, you shouldn't. We all have independent thoughts and practices. I know I do. And what I say is not law. I'm preaching of experiences and what you should and shouldn't do, but not what you have to do. So if you don't believe, if I told you that the sky is purple, because you have your own factors, you have your own beliefs, you've seen it with your own eyes, why should you believe when someone says that a group of people is evil if you never experienced or seen the evil? They could just be telling you the sky is purple. The church is dead silent because they're like, okay, I thought you was about to go into thou shalt not worship thy rose quartz crystal or use thy Florida water. Like, what are you talking about? So he keeps going on a tangent about how you shouldn't judge people. Christians are judgmental. You shouldn't do this. You could be blocking your blessing. You don't know what the person practices when you go to a hospital, what the nurse does, but you still want their help and they're kind to you because you just naturally want them to be a good person. He's going in, and Cassie, his daughter, is just sitting there like, what is my daddy talking about? And Jeffrey is watching the live stream like, he really going in, just like he knew that Pastor Brown was warming them up for next Sunday. So he felt even more welcome because one, he's going to introduce him as a divinator, and two, he's not just throwing him to the wolves like, look, we have a warlock in here, say hi. So he continues on with the sermon. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but that's just the basis of it, right? Really just making himself reflect. Then he asks, how many of us in here got a tarot reading? I have. That's the reason I'm here now. I was told that I was meant to be in this position because I can make a difference. I can inspire. I can spread the word. Another member says, I've gotten one when I went to New Orleans last summer. Another member says, well, you know, I have a cousin who does it. And I let her practice on me. She was good. But, you know, I never did it again. And Pastor Brown says, that's okay. There are people here with different spiritual eyes and perspectives that can provide us information that we may not have access to. If I had a prophet here, you guys would believe him, right? You guys would welcome him. But if I had a divinator here, how would you guys react? The church is silent because they know, okay, a divinator, prophet is just two different titles for two different types of categories, right? So he's going, like, y'all, the boldness of it all. So he goes on with the service. He starts talking about different symbols, like you guys wear the cross but you don't like the ankh. Like he's reading them down about how judgmental people in general could be. Mind you, this is on Facebook Live, so it is going viral. Some people love it, of course some people hates it, right? So he spends the whole service doing that, about how you shouldn't judge people who practice different things, and just because Christianity may be the most popular religion doesn't make it the most accurate or the most right, you know, religion. You do what you do, and you should naturally go where you just want to go. As long as you're a good person, no matter where you go, good will be present because good is within you. So Jeffrey, for the first time in 30 years, listens to an entire church service, because that's the type of church service he wished he had when he was younger, when he told his members of his church that he's looking to go more spiritual than religion. So he's getting emotional. He's loving to see it, because he knew, like, his inner child needed to hear a service like that, to see a pastor be open and acceptive of different types of practices. Like, he really enjoyed it. Cassie felt more welcome, because she wasn't going to the church because she didn't want to feel judged by the other members, just because she wanted to do something different. She didn't want to feel forced to be a Christian, even though she didn't have nothing against it. She just knew she felt more happy when she was talking to her friends about different crystals and shopping for herbs and being in shops and hearing people about how they meditate. She knew she just felt more happy with that. So in that moment, she felt like she was sitting with her friends talking about how they use different hertz when they meditate and all that good stuff. So she felt welcome. Jeffrey felt welcome. Pastor Brown was nervous that next Sunday he wasn't going to have no members, but he kept it going. And he ended the service, like the church announcements, I think they call it, when they read out what's going to happen at the church at the end of the service. So the lady reads the announcements, and Pastor Brown says, by the way, there will be a warlock, a divinator, a spiritual man here next Sunday. He's going to provide his gifts to you all like he did to me. Whether you show up or not is your business. If you decide to leave the church, I thank you for being with me on this journey. But that's what's going to happen next Sunday. Thank you. And he leaves the stage because he didn't want to hear no booing or backlash. Like I said, Pastor Brown is a Leo, so he don't like all that criticism. He just want to hear the applause and he want to go. So he just got off the stage. And y'all, let's fast forward to the next Sunday. So like I said, that video on Facebook went viral. So people all over heard it. People all over had their opinions. People all over had a thing or two to say about Pastor Brown. So the next Sunday, he literally thought that Jeffrey was going to be sitting in front of like 20 people, because he just knew that Jeffrey helped him so much get to that point. He believed in him and he thanked him, that it wouldn't just all disappear, because he's showing appreciation not only to him privately but publicly as well. So Jeffrey goes to the church an hour early, and he sits in the back with Pastor Brown. They're both sitting there nervous. They're like, oh my gosh, what if nobody show up? What if they out there protesting? And then they slowly hear the doors open and close of people coming in. And then they peep out there. It's a little less than usual, but we're good. But as time passes by, the church get more full, and more full. Faces he never seen before. Different families coming in. He's looking outside. He's seeing different license plates on cars from states all over the South and North. So he's like, okay, I think we're doing good. So Cassie comes in and she's like, I don't think we're going to be able to fit everybody in here. Pastor Brown and Jeffrey looks confused. She's like, there's lines 6 blocks down of people trying to get in here. And Pastor Brown's like, where are all these people coming from? And Cassie's like, you do know you went viral, right? Millions of people have seen your service last week, so there's a lot of people here. Jeffrey begins to smile, because he's thinking, well, if y'all drove all the way here, it must be for a good reason, right? So they lay out more chairs. They try to get many people in as possible. They bring them over. Remember the smaller church I told you they had, where they turned into Bible study? They put the projector down so they could watch the live stream in a different room. They tried to fit as many people as possible. They had to send people away. So now they do the usual, you know, in church, how they sing first. I forgot the order. They sing first. They do all that stuff. Pastor Brown goes up and he says, I'm guessing you guys are here from last week. Thank you all. I see new faces. I see I'm missing some faces, but I'm sure we're all here for Jeffrey. So I introduce to you the divinator, the warlock, my divinator, Jeffrey. Jeffrey walks out. People go crazy. Like, y'all, you would never think even the church mother was clapping. She was like, you know, she not, you know. So people are going crazy over him. I'm assuming it was a lot of spiritual people in the audience, because I don't know if Christian people are that easy to convert. I'm assuming there's a lot of spiritual people in there who were like, oh my God, we about to see a tarot card reader in a church. You never gonna see this again. So everyone's going crazy. There's loud clapping. Of course, I'm sure there's some people that's not clapping because they're there to hate. You know, you gotta have that. So Jeffrey is literally about to in his pants, okay? He is literally that little boy during Easter about to give a speech. He's like, hey everyone, I'm Jeffrey. I've been practicing spirituality for about over 30 years now. I grew up in the church too, but this was right for me. I burn candles. I burn sage. I burn incense. I burn leaves sometimes. I burn a lot of stuff. I read for people. I meditate. I'm the person that wears a bunch of crystals in the store. I like to take long walks on the beach. He just cracks a joke. And I like to give people spiritual advice, spiritual guidance that are open to it. So who's going first? He pulls out his cards. He pulls out his Florida water that you can get from BlaqueWitchYaya.com. He rubs it on his hands, and then no one moves. So he's just kind of sitting there awkward because he's sitting in front of the church because he didn't want to go to the pulpit because he's like, I don't want to stand in front of people and above people. To him, that was just kind of intimidating. So he just sat there waiting. Guess who the first person was to walk up there? The mother of the church. So he knew who she was because he knew that that was the individual that found the unk. So she thought like, oh Lord, she about to get up here, she about to drown me in some holy water, thinking I'm the devil. So she walks up to him and she says, so what do I got to do? And Jeffrey says, here's some Florida water. It's just cleansing spiritual water. She says, I know what it is. She grabs it. She puts it on her hand. She rubs it on her hands. And she's like, okay. Tell me my future, Mr. Cleo. So Jeffrey rubs some more Florida water on his hands. He looks at the mother and he just stares at her for a few seconds. He doesn't even touch his cards. And he just looks at her for like a good 15 seconds. He's just looking her directly in the eye. He doesn't even touch his cards. He just continues to stare at her. So everybody in the church like, oh my God, is she about to be possessed? Like, what is this witch about to do? What is this warlock about to do? And then he just says, Brandon says it's not your fault. Brandon says he loves you. Brandon says thank you. And literally the members of the church gasp. They're like, they get silent. They're starting to get chills. Everyone's just looking. And the mother of the church begins to cry. So Pastor Brown is looking like, oh God, oh God, oh God. Y'all, Brandon is the mother of the church son who passed away in a car accident. So she's just up there standing there and she says, what else does he say? And Jeffrey says, he just continues to say it's not your fault. It's not your fault. He loves you. He thanks you. He's with you. He has your scarf. The scarf that went missing on the dresser. He has your scarf. The mother of the church begins to yell. She begins to cry. She lost her scarf years ago, her favorite scarf that she used to take Brandon to church in. She used to wear it every Sunday to church. She lost it one day. So Jeffrey tells her Brandon has it. He says, thank you. He says it's not your fault. Because he died in a car accident on the way to church one Sunday when he said he was sleepy. He didn't feel like going. He stayed up all night studying. And the mother of the church, the lady, his mom was like, no, you have to come to church. You can't miss the service. You can't just say you tired and miss church. You have to come. You have to come. And he ended up falling asleep at the wheel. So she begins to cry because she always felt like it was her fault. And she didn't go to church for a long time because she felt guilty going to church. But she just began to cry and cry. Jeffrey hugged her. He continued to give her messages. Like that day where you did this and that, Brandon said that was him. When you saw this butterfly and it kept following you in the house, that was him. This and that. So she's like, oh my God. Like imagine being so against it and that individual gives you a word that you needed to hear. So she just begins to cry. So her part is done. They get her back seated. They calm down. She thanks him. She just, like, I don't know, like if someone gives me a message like that about my brother, I'm sure how peace and how just calming that feels. All the confirmations you get, those times you think you crazy because you think you heard a sound. Sometimes I think I see my brother in the store, my brother passed away. Like getting those confirmations is letting them know like, hey, that was me. I'm sure she felt very at peace for that. Who's next? A huge line forms. everybody is like, okay, so I need to see what's this. I need to see what's going on. So he reads as many people as possible. They were dropping off offerings next to him to give him money on top of the $20K that Pastor Brown was already going to give him. And Pastor Brown is just sitting there pleased, because not only are they accepting the spiritual side, but they're also getting confirmation and just guidance that they couldn't have gotten from anyone else if they remained closed off. So since that day, y'all, every fourth Sunday, Jeffrey is there providing readings for people. They have to sign up early. It's first come, first serve for the church, because on those days, everybody shows up. It's like, okay, we don't have enough seats, especially in the year 2020. Not that many people were able to go in there, so it was real hectic. They just keep Jeffrey going, and they see him even outside of the church. They sign up for his cleansings, they visit his shop. So that big group of people, because it's thousands of people, but yet such a small group who are acceptive of the Christian faith and the spiritual faith, and seeing how they intertwine, and that you can be acceptive of both. So you guys let me know down below, have you ever seen this happen? Would you like to experience something like that? What are your thoughts? Would you have been open to something like that? Or do you feel you should keep those two worlds separate? Are you happy for Pastor Brown of how it ended? Because I know before he seemed like a little, you know, a little greedy and a little slidey, but I feel like with him wanting to be open to what he does behind the scene and not be like those pastors he had to lunch with, and just be really open. Y'all, the pastors he had to lunch with, they were like, we would never. All those times Jeffrey are in there, even though they have a little spiritual person in their pocket, they never showed up to a service because they didn't want to be associated with it, because they know that they couldn't get away with that. They said only Pastor Brown could do that, because if we try that, we would lose our entire church. Like, all the members would go. So they say only Pastor Brown has been the one to be able to get away with that and to just make people open. I feel like they were already into it. Just some people say it's evil just because it's a popular thing to say that it's evil. But you guys let me know down below, what are your thoughts? I'm proud of Pastor Brown. I'm proud of Jeffrey, because I know with being like isolated from a group of people, from a church, having that bad experience and trauma with the church, it took a lot for him to not even step foot back into the church, but help members out, the same members that he associate with being rude to him when they seen him and not wanting to talk to him. Even some of his own family members stopped talking to him because he wasn't Christian. So I'm really proud of him for that, because I know just that was a big boy step. So you guys let me know down below what you think about the pastor and the warlock. How would you react, and your thoughts in general? But like I always say, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. Until next time, you guys, I say.